Yeah. So Sumit, we have done like practice. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting like doubts. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So like
Please.
in any class we can discuss about doubts like
So yeah, we can. Yeah, maybe let's just start with that.
so today or tomorrow like anytime like I have write down lots of doubts. Okay. So
So maybe we can spend, let's just say, if let's just say we want to dedicate some time, let's just say tomorrow, maybe last half an hour or 45 minutes we'll dedicate to any sort of doubt you guys do have. In between, maybe whenever we are
Mhm.
going through, if you see the topic is relevant, you can ask the doubt then and then, not an issue. But let's just say if that's
Mhm.
relevant to something that we have already gone through, let's just dedicate 30 to 45 minutes maybe in the next session, and we'll try to clear out all your doubts, whatever you do have.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And I have shared one screenshot. I'm not able to deploy the application. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I
We have
mentioned. Maybe
added
what.
like
Yeah,
okay
yeah,
because
please.
we have added central DB na in our
Uh,
project, right? So on
uh,
that time, on deployment time, it is showing error, right? So
yeah, so what it says, right? It says that employee DB not found. The
mhm,
service definition does not exist. Now, when it says service definition does not exist, it means that the central DB that you are trying to connect to, system is not able to find that. Now, there are multiple reasons why it could be happening. One
mhm.
could be that your empty YML that you have created,
Right,
in the
right.
empty YML, your service connection are not established correctly. So the issue is with your empty YML. What I'll tell you is maybe uh, in the session into which we tried doing that, try to compare its empty YML with the one which you do have. Specifically, I'm not sure whether this is the one. Okay, one sec. Let me just have a
Yeah,
look.
this one only. Yes, yes.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
the one,
give
right? So
me this
the,
one.
the thing
This
that
one.
will play a key role is in this cross container, the resource should be defined correctly. The resource should be the name of it can be anything. Okay. After the name of it,
Mhm.
the service name, this should match with the exact container of your database, which you specified in your central container. So this should match
Mhm.
exactly. Post which, whenever you are specifying the properties over here, this the service name, it's fine. But this right hand side should be dollar. Here there cannot
Yes,
be any
yes.
other variable. It should be dollar and the service name,
Mhm.
service dash name. These are system variable.
Mhm.
Post which, when you go over here, at that point in time in this DB, you have to add the dependency. Now there will be two containers. First,
Mhm.
earlier when you used to deploy it, for example, if I also go with this one, you would see, okay, let's just say controller, empty YML, you would see that in this DB, there was nothing specified saying it's a target container because it's a single container. So definitely that's going to
Single
get the
container.
target,
Yes.
right? But
Mhm.
if I have more than one container, then it's required that I specify the same container saying this is going to be my target, or I can say the one container onto which my
Yes.
CAP application is based on. So this is mandatory. If you don't
Mhm.
specify, system will get confused that I have two container, which one should I consider it as a native container.
Yeah.
Afterwards,
So,
you can specify
mhm.
you can specify the resource as a dependency. So this name and this name should match. Another one is this group over here should say service replacements, because if this is not service replacement, system will try to attempt the creation of it. So service replacement is also mandatory. Post which,
Mhm.
here many a time what happens is you specify the variable the same as what we do have over here, the service name, but you miss something called the tilde sign. This particular tilde sign is mandatory. If you don't specify the tilde sign, which is on the left of your one onto your keyboard, then your service won't be recognized. So this should be in your key, and the service should specify tilde and the in the bracket the variable, which is the exact variable that you do have over here. These are the mandatory thing in order for the connection to work. Just check
Okay.
if all those things are in place, and ensure that these
Sumit,
service replacements and not
mhm.
service replacement.
Sumit, I have checked like 2 to 3 times that video.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So after this class, we can discuss like 5 to 10 minutes.
Uh-huh.
I can
Sure,
share
sure.
you. Okay.
No worries.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. So now I'll say let's just start with the stuff. Maybe I guess let's just go with a bit of a recap of what we're doing in the earlier session. So in the earlier session, mainly we were trying to connect to the Azure. So in the Azure, maybe what we understood is that our database uh, is capable of handling a media-based entity as well. While it is handling media-based entity, there are different alternatives. Either you can use database in order for you to store the content, or you choose not to use database because it's quite expensive. When you go with HANA database, data compression won't be possible. So why not to use some sort of a third-party cloud, right? That's where we decided we'll go with a Azure. So in order for us to understand the Azure, we also understood that there are certain utilities which has been provided by Azure called Azure Storage Blob. We started understanding that, and we understood that this particular package, Azure Storage Blob, will be available as a let's just say package on npm.js, and we started utilizing whatever APIs they would have posted, and we use it into our code. Because these are open source code, definitely the same sort of a, let's just say, I'll just open this here. Yeah. So the same set of a utility, or I can say the methods, whichever they have exposed, we can use it easily, right? So we understood that the Azure storage are built on top of a container. Container contains a set of blob data, as a part of which our files are being stored. Okay. And what we did is we tried implementing the custom service for that. So when I go over here, we see that, okay, I have a Azure list, attachment list, which is going to give me the database stored list, but the int is there for the internal processing. In order for it to work, we implemented a create and update, because we know that whenever we are trying to upload something, it's going to go via two route. It's first going to create the record on my DB, plus it's going to update the record with the content. That's where we implemented create and update over here. If I just go over here, you will see that in the upload attachment over here, which we mentioned somewhere over here saying upload attachment, we are getting a call, two back-to-back call, first for the post, which is a create. We tried inserting a set of data into the DB, and into the update, we are actually getting the pass-through content of it, which we are getting in the form of a request.data.content, which we tried uploading onto the Azure. This from a CAP perspective, but what from the Azure perspective we did? So we created a utility over here, and in this utility, we uploaded the file. We created a shared access signature. We connected to service client, created a container if it does not exist. Afterward, we uploaded, we got the handle for the individual file, and we tried uploading it by converting a data into a readable stream, and that stream we finally passed over here, and we are able to upload the file. Afterward, we got something called Azure File ID and the container ID that we created. So we use that to store it onto the DB. So going forward, we can use this container ID and the file ID whenever we are supposed to retrieve that particular set of attachment. So with the help of this, what we were able to achieve is that, for example, in the Azure Storage Explorer, the container got created with so-called name E4, C4 something, and the file got uploaded with this. On top of it, if you just also go into the properties, whatever data that we have passed on till now, so for example, the user, the name of the file, and let's just say the type of file and everything, you will see it updated over here. So now going forward, if you would like to download this, the information is stored. On top of it, the advantage that you are also getting is that even though the name of file is my taste PDF, if someone updates that file and try to upload it again as a new version, your file won't get overridden. Instead, it will upload it as a new file. So you can have multiple version of the same file stored because it is stored anonymously. Okay, so now what we are supposed to do is we are supposed to extend our example in a way that now we'll connect to our Azure Storage Explorer again, but this time to download it. Now for that we'll again learn whatever API which has been provided over here in the Azure Storage block, and we'll utilize that in order for us to download. Now while we are going to download it, we know download is nothing but a get call, which is nothing but a read call over here, right? So this particular read call is something that we are going to use. Now let's just before we start on that, let's just ensure that our HANA database cloud is up and running. So I'll just refresh this. Okay, so it's running well and good. I'll just go over here. Okay, and let's just say BTP. Oh, maybe we have to log in again. My BTP is also just back from vacation. Let's just say this one. Okay, so it's connected to our DB wherever it should be. Now the next thing that we are going to do is in this particular test environment, let's just say we uploaded a file. Okay, after uploading, we would like to download a file. So for example, let me just upload a file again. It just triggered a post call, it triggered a put call, and it says that, okay, a file got uploaded. Okay, and now I'll just go over here and maybe I should be able to view that particular thing also uploaded over here in maybe the new container. Not this one, this seems to be old. This one, right? So there is something which just got uploaded on the 6th of Jan 2024. Okay, so now as we can see, we have a media source of it, which has been granted with this particular set of values, right? So it says that, okay, this is how you can download it. So we would like to download it, but for that, what we'll do is we'll just copy this and I'll just simply say, I would like to download an attachment. Let's just say get over here. Okay. And here I have same path over here of the service localhost v2 this one v4 attachment int, and this time we are going with a dollar value. Now as we are going with that, the idea is that if we are supposed to download this, if we are supposed to trigger a get call, the same should have been implemented, right? So if I just currently go into my Azure service handler, this one, the read portion of it has a method attached to it, but it does not have the relevant logic written as a part of it, right? So we have to write that logic as well. Plus, as we are talking about this one, which is somewhere ending with A3 and maybe let's just say first portion ending with 200, if you try looking at the data which has been stored into the all attachment, I'll just say get data of all attachment pointers. So which is nothing but your HANA database cloud. I'll just say get and maybe this one, and which entity are we using in order for us to actually have the attachments list. This is the one. I'll just simply say I would like to get the attachment list whichever had been stored. Here we should be able to find that particular attachment, which is nothing but this one. It says that, yeah, I have stored your Azure container ID, which is nothing but your A3 F64 somewhere over here. Yeah, here it is. And file name is somewhat A4754. Right, so it has stored the relation. So my DB over here knows that the moment I uploaded the file, this particular key with which it just got uploaded, okay, which is this one, is stored at this container level and the file name of it is this one. So we now have the pointers. All we are supposed to do is, based on the key parameter that we are getting into the input, we'll try to get the container ID, file ID. Based on this container ID and file ID, we'll again trigger the Azure functions to retrieve the file, convert its content in a way that can be understood by my SAP, and then we'll pass it on in the response. The moment we do that, we can expect my file to get downloaded. It is as simple as that, because we know the address of SAP, we know the address of Azure as well. So the thing should be quite straightforward, right? So what I'll do is I'll just go over here, and here I'll just simply say download attachment. Yeah, that's what we are trying to implement. Now in the download attachment, we'll simply try to let's just say write our logic. So first thing that we are going to do over here is, so like we connected to a table, right? So we have learned how we can connect to a table and how we can trigger a select query or anything. We'll need the namespace of it, btp.azure it is, right? The name of entity is nothing but attachment. So I'll just use the same thing. I'll just say I would like to connect to a DB because I am trying to trigger a select query, correct? Afterward, in order for me to trigger a select query, my step one should be, I should be initializing a transaction. So I'll just simply say const tx equal to cds.transaction, and I'll pass the request parameter. Okay. After doing that, we have to trigger a select query, correct? Now, in order for us to trigger the select query, we should be knowing where are we getting the data from, correct? Now, we may or may not know. Let's just try to view those things visually. So I'll just say which file, I can say which particular thing I'm currently trying to work on. BTP Azure, this is the one. Okay, do I have a run configuration? It's strange. Okay, let's see. I have to create a run configuration then for this. Okay, BTP Azure. Yeah, that's the thing. It founds it as a 2. It means there is some run configuration, but somehow it's not appearing. Okay, so we have this configuration available, and now let's see. I'll bind it to the relevant HANA container. Okay, where is my Azure? Over here. No, we don't want to do the deployment again. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll just go into the run and debug, and let's see if we find over here. So we have that Azure, right? And I'll just simply try to execute this into the debugging mode. Okay, so we have got something. I'll just try to put a breakpoint over here, go into the test mode, and let's just see if we can click on this. We have got the debugger, right? Now, as we have got the debugger, we'll see, okay, from where we can get this particular parameter, the one which you are passing into the input, because we need the key parameter of it. I'll just say params. As you can see, it says request.params and this one. So I don't want to, let's just say, calculate it myself, rather I can get the path, but this, as I mentioned, underscore. Underscore is something which I can say is as the hidden parameter. Let's just try not to use it. Then what are the alternatives we have got? Either we can just view this params and we can get it from here, or, or we can just simply go in request.data and you can get it from here. So I'll just say copy as expression and pass it over here. So we got the information we needed. req.data.id will give me the information I want. Okay. So based on this, now I would like to write my logic to retrieve the relevant information, which is nothing but my file ID and the container ID. Okay. So I'll just simply stop this execution over here, right? Step one, we initialize the transaction. In the step two, what we'll do is we'll comfortably trigger the select query, select the file data stored onto HANA Cloud DB. Now select query is something we have already learned. what all things we have learned is if I would like to trigger a select query, all I am supposed to do is I'll create a variable which will serve the purpose of my output. I'll just say, for example, some sort of attachment data. Okay. Then next thing I am supposed to do is I am supposed to trigger a tx.run. What we also understood is that this tx.runs return me what? It returns me a promise. If I put a cursor over here, okay, maybe it's not suggesting it yet, but the moment we say tx.run, it returns us the promise as we have already seen and understood it. In order for me to work that without an issue, I'll just go with await because I am going to use it in the step follows. I'll just write async because I'm using an async await function. So it should only be written within a async function. So it's async. So I'll just type, my bad, async over here, right? Now we are supposed to read the data. What is the input for us? It's req.data.id, right? So I'll just simply say select over here, right? The moment we say select, next thing we are also supposed to do is select only one record. So I'll just say simply select dot one from, we'll select it from the attachments. Okay. After doing that, what we'll select is we'll select the set of columns that we want. Okay. Now, either you can select the set of column or you can select whole of them. Okay. So what, let's just say I'll go with this. I'll select all columns individually, but I'll select one by one. So, other than select star that we understood, how I can also select the column one by one. So I'll just say I would like to get the name of it. So I'll just simply say columns over here. So for example, I got the name. Another thing we would like to get over here is a MIME type. Okay, another thing we would like to get over here is Azure Container ID. Okay, and another thing we would like to get over here is Azure File ID. So select.one is nothing but your select single of a web. I'll just say dot where over here, and here I'll simply add the information that I have. So which is nothing but my ID is my primary key. And next thing I am supposed to pass the date variable, which is going to give me the data. That's this one. Okay. So ideally this select query should give me the data, but there is no guarantee of all the things, right? So let's just say if I'm getting the data, then only I'll proceed. So I'll just say if I have got the information, then download the file from Azure. Okay. In order for us to check the certainty, I'll just simply say if my LR attachment over here is there, if it's defined, then I'll just say connect to my file handler, Azure file handler, right? And download the attachment. So have we connected to our file handler earlier? Azure file handler, yes, we have already connected to it over here, and then we created an object of it, right? So I'll just simply initialize a new Azure file handler over here as well. Okay, afterwards, we would like to download the file. Do we have any method which is capable of doing that? Currently, we see it's upload file. Okay, it does not have anything for download yet, right? So we'll download it. Now, in order for us to download any of the file, how I can recognize a file over here? I know I have a container ID and I have a file ID. I guess those are more than sufficient information in order for me to download a file, right? So what I'll do is I'll just simply pass those parameter over here. Before that, let's just generate a method of that sort. I'll just put a cursor on this, and here, like we have upload file, yeah, we also have got a download file method over here. We have created it anyway, right? So in this one, we'll specify two things. For example, I'll just simply say container name, right? Another thing may be some sort of a Azure file ID, right? So we have got this method, which is going to perform the operation for us. So now I'll just get the file. My expectation is that after this execution, I should be able to get the file which I'm looking for. So I'll just say whatever file I'm getting, I'll just say where ls file, and I'll just simply say lo as your file handler, and maybe download file, which will say, hey, you would need to pass two parameters. First, container name. Now, where can I get the container name from? From the select query that we just executed, right? So I'll just say this select query will be giving me something called this container ID. Another thing, this particular select query will also give me so-called my Azure file ID. Okay. Now, once I have done that, I have got the two of the information that we might need for the operation. Now, next thing we'll do is we'll wait for my file over here to come up with the data that it needs. It means we have to implement the download file. Okay, so we'll now proceed towards the download file operation. Okay, now as we are going to proceed with this download file operation, the first thing we should be knowing is that my data is stored onto a container. Earlier, we have connected using a shared access signature. We connected to a service client. We connected to a container as well, and we created. But we don't need the creation, but we are still supposed to connect to my container, isn't it? So I'll follow the same thing that we followed in the upload. I'll connect to this shared access signature. So I'm connected to my Azure service. I'll get the container information over here. As simple as that. Okay. So I'm just reutilizing the thing that we understood during the upload. Okay. Now, as we have done that, my next step should be that after having this get the handle of container client, I would like to also understand, or I can say I would like to also get the control of my file that I created. How can I do that? So as you can see, we are also connected to our file over here by using some sort of a get blob client. Using a container client, just pass the name of your file and you are able to connect to this. Right. So I'll just simply connect to this as well. As simple as that. The things that we have learned so far, we are just utilizing that. Okay. And here the Azure field name is this one. So I'll just pass this. Container client is the same variable. We are getting a blob handle. Now, next thing we are supposed to do over here is download the file. Okay. So we can get those information in a multiple steps. Okay. So first thing we can check is like what all thing it comes up with. So I'll just say I would like to get some information. So for example, some sort of a media information, media properties, for example, let's just call it as. And at this point in time, we'll say blob handle dot. Let's just say what all thing it comes up with. It says whether you would like to download. I can give you a download option, account name, copy, container name, whatever thing you ask for. Let's just say what all get information it has. It says get tags, get properties. So properties we uploaded some time back, you remember, right? Which was containing your, let's just say name of the file, content type of it and all those stuff. So those are the things we can get back from the file that has been uploaded. But one thing to ensure is that it returns the promise. As it returns the promise, we have to ensure that it is executed with a await keyword, right? So I'll just simply say get properties over here and I'll just write this like this. And this get properties, as it's going to return a promise, I'll just say await. And as I'm writing await over here, I'll just convert this method into a async method. Okay. Now, after doing this, await get properties is something I'll be getting. Plus, next thing I'll be getting is, so what I got over here is I just get the properties. Next thing I should be getting is I should be able to download the file. We already got that, right? We have seen already a method which gives me that. So I'll just say where ls download, for example, let's just call it as a blob. What was that? Blob handle dot download, right? Now let's see what all thing it has. It says offset. Now offset is a quite generic term in terms of programming, right? We know what is an offset. So for example, I am trying to read this particular code block, right? This code block. If I say read from a position 0, it means I am saying that read it from the beginning. If I say read it from a offset 5, it means I am saying read it from point number 5, don't read this. But while we are reading the file, as it's a media, we don't want to go with any offsetting. We would like to read the data from the beginning itself, right? That's the reason what we'll simply say is that read it from the beginning. So we are going to pass the offset as a 0, plus it returns the promise. So we have to write an await. Okay. So here we are going to write an await over here. So it will wait for the download to get completed. Once it has been downloaded, I'll just simply return the content, whichever we have got, and let's just say file name of it. Okay. I'll just try to return those things over here. So for example, let's just create some certain thing. So what all things are we going to get out of this? So I'll just simply say ls blob over here in this one download. What does it return? It returns blob download response parsed. Okay. Somewhere over here, you see it is how a sample code block is also given into same one. It is how you can use it. Okay, those all the things are also given to you. Okay. So you can have a blob body also you can use, and many things you are also possibly will be able to use. While uploading, we uploaded it in the form of a stream data, right? A readable stream. Let's see if we have something of that sort. So we are looking for some sort of a stream data. I can say stream body data, ls download, and let's see what all thing it contains. Readable stream body, right? So I'll just simply use this. These stream data is compatible with the download of our SAP. So that's the reason we'll always try to get a stream data if that's available ready-made. Otherwise, we have to convert it into a stream. Okay. Another thing we would need is, for example, file name, because we uploaded a file name in the property. So we'll get it via the media properties, right? And where did we upload it? A file name. You see in the upload over here, we uploaded it in the metadata, right? And the content type we uploaded it in the header parameter, right? So in this one media property, what are we looking for? A metadata. So as you can see, metadata contains all the property. So it can be any user defined property, even that we define, right? So I'll just simply say file name. And another one, for example, let's just say content type. So whether it's a PDF, a zip, or whatever file it is, I'll just say ls media property. Where did we uploaded it earlier? In the HTTP header without any sort of user defined parameter. So if we say ls media property dot over here, does it give us some sort of a content type? Okay, so we'll just simply say content type. We should get it over here. These are the thing that we got by the download function. So my download is now giving me all this information that I need, right? So we can just simply view whether those things has been provided to us in the shape that we want. Okay, as simple as that. Once we say we are going to execute this, as this function itself has now been defined over here as a download file, which returns a promise, as we can see. Why promise? Because it has asynchronous calls in between, right? So that's the reason what we'll say is we'll also write an await over here. So it waits for the time till the time your code is getting executed. After we got ls file, we'll view what all things are we getting. The moment we get those information, we'll be able to utilize it. Okay. So after ls file, maybe the information that we are going to get over here are nothing but my stream body, file name, and the content type. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll simply uh, think of the things that we used to do when we used to work on a gateway based data service. Okay, so in the gateway based OData service, what we used to do is gateway based OData service, what we used to do is we used to implement a method called getStream. Remember? So this is what we used to do in a gateway based OData service. In the create stream, we used to upload. In the get stream, we used to download. While downloading, it used to have two parameters. Okay, download used to have two parameters. One, I can say some sort of header information. In the header information, we used to pass the file name and the way which we would like to download. So for example, whether you would like to preview it or download it, right? Some sort of a command we used to specify inline, or let's just say outline or attachment, right? At the same point in time, in the body parameter, which we also call as let's just say result, we used to specify the actual content. Now, this thing that we used to specify over here were not specific to your gateway. They were specific to how a OData service renders a media content. Okay, as simple as that. So what we can do over here is we can follow the same information over here, and we have to populate the body parameter over here in result. So my request over here, when we looked into the debugging, it does not contain anything called result, sorry, called results. Okay, so we have to pass that thing. So I can say prepare my output data, prepare output data. Okay, and in this output one, you have to specify request.results on your own, and you have to specify it as an empty structure, for example. And this results, what you can add is, in this results, you can add some sort of a value, for example. Okay, in this value will be nothing but your stream body that we just got. We got it via this one, stream body over here. Now this is the one that's going to serve the purpose of your body parameter. Now it provides the content. Now, when I say how the file should be downloaded, what should be the name of it? XYZ, ABC, or whatever has been stored. You can name it anything, right? So that thing that you are supposed to pass on to header, you can pass it via certain thing. So for example, if I would like to pass the header parameter, you can pass it simply by saying REQ dot, it has something called underscore. Maybe there is something you can also view in the debugging mode. Then you will be passing OData response of it. Okay, and then you have to specify the header parameter. It says set header. Okay, and you would have seen that while defining a file name, we specify an annotation called content disposition. Okay, so this content disposition annotation that we specified ideally define how the content is going to get disposed, at least the file name of it. That's what it says. In terms of OData, you have to specify it. This is in the form of annotation, but in the form of OData, what you are supposed to specify is you are supposed to specify those things with a hyphen. I'll just say content disposition over here. Okay. Then you are supposed to specify whether you would like to preview it or download it by specifying inline or outline. Okay. So I'll just simply say, for example, I would like to specify the thing saying I would like to perform, let's just say inline. Inline is means preview. Though even though in the normal OData Postman or browser base, you won't be able to see that. When you actually consume it in the Fiori application, then you will be able to get the flavor of it. But whenever you are going to do that, in order for us to understand, just understand it says inline. If it is, then it means you would like to do something. If it is inline, it means you would like to preview it. Plus, you are specifying file name. Maybe what you can also do in order for you to rephrase this is you can just open your ABAP code also. If you have some gateway based media entity, you will see you would have specified this content disposition inline file name. That's the same theory. That's the same uh, structure skeleton with which your OData of CAP is also working. I'll just simply say over here, you have to specify the name of file in a double inverted comma. That's the reason I specified it over here. And over here, what you are also supposed to do is you are supposed to specify some variable. I'll just simply say dollar, and here you will specify the file name. We are getting it via what? You are getting it via ls file over here, and then maybe we can say file name, right? And you have to close this double inverted. So this is how it should be visible. So you have set the body parameter, you have set the header parameter as well. Okay. Now, after doing this, what you're also willing to do, for example, is that I don't want to preview it always. If it is, let's just say, image, preview it. If it's any other document type, please download it. That's what you would like to say, for example, right? So what you can simply do is you can simply specify that if my ls file over here is content type over here, for example, if it is a file which contains an image, right? So image.png, image, jpg, anything. So if I say if this particular content type includes an image, so as we are writing it in uppercase, let me just also convert this thing into uppercase. So if the content type over here it's containing an image, then I would like to preview it. Okay, so I'll just simply say this. Else I would like to download it. Okay, so I'll just simply format this. Then you can say, in this case, don't inline, but outline it. Outline it means download it in the form of a media. That's what we ideally call it as. So you are getting the information by downloading the file, by reading the Azure APIs over here seamlessly as if it's the CAP functions. Okay, thanks to the package that we have installed. On top of it, you are also saying that I'll download it, but if it's an image, I'll preview it. If it is not an image, I'll download it. And in the Fury, whenever you implement, you will see these things into the action. So this is how you will be able to see that as well. So if you would like to view that, what you can simply do is I'll just simply say, for example, I'll control click on this so that it's opening in a form of a metadata. Next thing I'll simply do is, for example, over here, paste HTTP. I'll just simply say this is the one that we are trying to view. Okay. So you are saying V2, this one, I would like to download this file. Click on this, enter. It just happened. Okay, could not find a table Azure ent. Okay, why did not it connect it to SQL error invalid table name? Okay, let's see. Hmm, Azure file service attachment same. That's what we queried on. Not possible, right? Okay, let's see. Say this one, Control C. Just close this. Let's see at what all places it's going. I'll just put a cursor on this and not this one. Let's just say over here, Azure file handler. Just go over here as well. Okay. Before that, let's just try to view the list. Are we getting the list that we are looking for? Yeah, we have the list, right? We have the list running over here. Control C, and let's just try to connect to our debugger session so we know how the things are going on. Okay, so it's connected to this. And now what we'll do is I'll just simply go ahead and try to execute this get call over here. Yeah, so we have now got into the debugger. Even though we executed from browser, it will anyway hit the debugger. Attachments F6. Okay. Okay, it's connected to attachment. I'll just initialize the transaction. TX also initialize, select query. Let's just execute this. LR attachment, we got this. Name we got the, okay, MIME type and all those things. So as it's there, I'll just simply say Azure file handler. We initialize that and now we are looking for a file ID. Okay, so let's see ls file, what all things it get. It just got the content type, stream body, and the file name. So it just got all three information we are looking for. A value over here, value of it over here. We upload it to, let's just say we are populating the request and the results of it. Do you see results somewhere? Yeah, here it is. So we uploaded the value of it, right? And we are saying whether the content of it is an image. No, right? Because the content of it is an PDF. I'll just simply say F6. Now we should have this REQ over here, should have something called underscore. Okay. REQ over here. One sec. Here it is. Okay, OData response. And in this OData response, we are using the some sort of a header parameter. Let's see whether we do have it. Okay, let's just see REQ dot underscore. That's there. OData response. That's also there. Dot set header. Yeah, that's a method. So we have that. That's also one of the varied method. F6. Execute this. Please wait for the detail. What it says. Okay. Let's see, is it because of the dollar value thing that we are going on with? Let's say I would like to download the content of it. It is trying to look for this one first, the first place, where it is Azure file handler, Azure service, download attachment, Azure handler. We are anyway giving the handler of SRV on. It should not have anyway look for the further, look any further, okay. Is it triggering any call for again onto this Azure service? Select MIME type as content type on this one. This is what it is trying to trigger a select query on. Okay, because we are not returning the MIME type. Okay. Let's just say req.data.mime type over here. Let's just set it to the content type that we are getting over here, which is nothing but this one. Ideally, it's not required, but let's see if that helps the system. It seems it's looking for something. No, because this is not a table. So the idea is the message says that could not find a table or view because this is not a view, right? Uh, this is something that we have created as a structure. On top of it, on a follow-on call, it is triggering a select query for this one, which is nothing but a MIME type of it, which is a bit weird. It should anyway not trigger a select query on this one. Azure story attach, Azure files service attachments end. Okay, let's say, let's just understand if we are getting a, okay, fine. Let's just say if the system is triggering a call 2 times on this, okay. Yeah, that can be possible. It can be possible. Okay, I'll just say Azure storage over here. This is the one that we are getting. Let's just try to print the req dot. Okay, for example, in download handler. Maybe I think it has something called underscore path. Okay, let's see how many times we are getting this in download. Is it coming only once or multiple times? It says in download handler once. It is coming up with attachment int and this content. This is what it is coming up with. Next, no, it's not coming more than once. It's just one. You specified this a media type, and yeah, these are media. That's all. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, we'll spend 1 more minute on this. In case that does not, okay, we don't find anything, I'll just anyway uh, note it down. I'll just look from my end. Hmm. Okay. Seems something in the local environment itself. Azure file service. This one. Is it that maybe system has not got the right idea of like what is a structure and what is a this one? Let's see. Okay, after this, let's see if we have got the proper information of the data over here. Yeah, it is connected to the right DB as well. Mhm. It's still connected to this one. So the idea is whenever you try to create anything with a uh, entity, it will always generate the component with a table over here, and for the service, it will generate a view. So maybe you will find it over here as your table and this view. But whenever you create anything with the skip, it's not going to create anything for the table or the service. So even if the service is there called where it is as attachments int, it's not going to create anything for that, and that's the reason it is um, not finding it over here. But the question is why it is even triggering a select call for that. Say select, okay, query is this ID over here. It should not have triggered this select query at the first place. Okay, maybe I guess we are getting the content and everything. Maybe somehow we are facing some issue while maybe it's being rendered onto the output. Let's see, maybe I guess the interest of time will park this. I'll anyway look for this and maybe we'll get back to you on this by tomorrow. Okay. But I think you are clear about the framework, how the framework works. This is how we ideally do it. We ideally connect to it. We connect to the remote server. Okay, after bypassing its identity over here. The moment we get that, we ideally try to pass the return result into the results parameter. That's how we ideally work on it. Okay, and the download part of it is also same. Somehow it's misbehaving, but the idea is that we'll ideally get it with the request.results over here. And the moment we have got that, you will simply dispose the content by the means of content disposition over here. And the content disposition will ultimately give you the data in the form of output. That's the main idea. Okay. Anyone having any doubt, any questions on this? Okay, perfect. Now, next thing maybe we are left out with is maybe we can just look for that as well. That anyway, I don't think should give us any trouble anymore, but let's see. So the idea is that we understood how we can create an attachment. I can say upload an attachment and download an attachment. If we are also supposed to delete some sort of a media content from my Azure, how I can do that? Okay, that's also one of the thing maybe you can have as one of your use cases. So in order for us to delete that, the idea is quite simple that you will simply perform a delete operation. The moment I say perform a delete operation, you will simply trigger a delete call and then you can expect it to get deleted. Okay. Now, while you are deleting, REST API says you are anyway supposed to pass the key parameter of it as well. Okay. So I'll just say, for example, if I would like to delete an attachment, all you are supposed to pass is the same thing, maybe the whole path over here, but with a HTTP command called delete. Okay. The moment you do that, your HTTP delete operation will be performed and you should be able to see the things getting deleted. But will it happen automatically for you? Not really, right? Because there is an entity that you have taken a full responsibility of. So you should be deleting that attachment. In case of a normal, let's just say auto-generated media entity, those things might have been handled automatically. But as there is a specific implementation that we have done, we have to take the full responsibility of it. Okay. So what we'll do in this particular case? So in this case, what we'll do is we'll just simply go by step-by-step implementation of a delete operation. We know the moment a delete call is getting triggered from here, a delete call is going to also get triggered over here in the delete attachment. This delete attachment, which is nothing but a file handler for you, sorry, attachment handler for you. This delete attachment is something that you will connect to. Now, all you are getting in the input is nothing but your ID. So you are getting your ID. Based on the ID, you will again read the information that you read via the read during the operation of your download, the file information, and then you will say to the Azure, hey, can you please delete this file? Okay, and you will get that particular file deleted. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just simply go over here and I'll just simply say I would like to read the information of a file. Okay, so mostly I think we have the things almost into the same steps. It's just this content which we don't have over here, which was anyway provided by the media handler. So now in this particular one, we have the same set of a data. We are reading the information which we read for the download purpose as well. I'll just simply go over here and I'll say in the attachment over here, I would like to read some sort of a data. Right, so I read the name, MIME type, and XYZ thing, whichever we need. Okay. After getting this information in this LR attachment, we would like to perform some sort of a delete operation. As simple as that. Okay. Now, in the delete operation, the things are quite simple. Azure perspective will use the delete functions for sure, but post which, in terms of a return, if you see there is any error, you can return with that. Or if you want, you can just stop the deletion then and then. But in case there are no errors, by default, if you don't return anything, it's as good as a success call for that. Okay, so that's the reason. The things are quite simple in this case. Now, if you are willing to go with a file handler, which we'll need for the Azure, I'll just simply initialize the object, and which particular thing that we would need in order for me to delete the attachment, some sort of identity of it, right? So maybe I can say same way as we had it for my download over here, right? Some sort of a container name and the file ID. Same way we'll have these things for my delete one as well. Okay, this is the one that we are going to use. After we have this, we can simply connect to the file and the container simply like the way we did. So I can say I'm connecting to my um, service client, then my container, and then my file. After doing that, my next step should be I would like to delete this. Okay. While deleting that, it's pretty good chances that my delete might pass or might fail because of XYZ reason. So what I'll do is I'll just simply say that I would like to perform with the deletion, but I'll just still store the delete response somewhere. Okay. So I'll just say my delete response is over here, and I would like to delete this. So in case there are some issues which are occurring during my deletion, I'll just simply catch the error over here, and I'll say that my delete response over here is an error. Okay. And in case the things looks good, I'll just simply say, let's just say blob delete response. I'll just simply say await because it's going to be again an remote call, so definitely an async function. I'll just say delete over here. It returns me a promise. It says, please delete that. Anyway, it's going to return us a response, which is in the form of a promise, nothing more than that. And I'll just simply say async over here. So it performs this. In case it throws an exception, it means the delete had failed. But in case it does not throw any exception, it means my delete was successful, right? So I'll just simply say success. And I'll just return this delete response from here saying whatever is delete response, be it success or error, I'm returning this. As a result, what it would have done is it would have deleted my file or it would have failed deleting. And this delete response that we are getting over here, that's the one that we can use if we are calling the file, calling the delete handler over here in my Azure. Okay. So what I'll simply do is I'll just simply say, hey, delete this file. Okay. And while deleting the file, I'll just simply say, for example, whatever delete response we are getting, how we can get that by using Hello Azure file handler. And I'll just simply say delete file, which will expect two things, container name, Azure file name, and it is expecting to have a promise in return. So I'll just simply say, as it's expected to have a promise in return, I'll just say await over here. It's a function has been marked as async plus I would need these two things, which I was also passing over here. So I'll just simply copy this from here and pass it over here. Okay. Now, if my response over here, it says error, I won't delete it from the database. Otherwise, I also don't need that entry into the database anymore, right? So I'll just say if deletion is success, delete the entry of registry from HANA DB as well, right? So I'll just simply say if my ls delete response over here is not equal to E, right? So if it is not an error, then please go ahead and delete it from my DB as well. So I'll just say simply lr delete DB. I'll just simply, I have transaction initialized because we use it for the selection. Same way you will go and let's just say perform the delete operation over here. I'll just say delete from where you would like to delete it, from the attachments, which file you would like, which entry you would like to delete over here. Same, the dot operator, dot where clause. I'll just simply say I would like to delete the one where ID is equal to this one. And that particular ID over here, we are anyway getting in the form of a req.data.id. Okay, so it will ultimately delete this as well. So let's see, I'll just simply say CDS watch profile hybrid. Okay, let's see, I'll just simply say this time I have my attachment list over here. Which had all this parameter, maybe I guess the one which you're focusing on over here is ending with 200, right? The one which we are trying to delete right now, I'll just simply say delete. It performed delete operation and it just says 204 over here. I'll just go over here and I'll just simply try to get the attachment list over here. Okay, and while getting the attachment list over here, if we search for the one which with 200, I don't see that entry over here. As we deleted the file, not the container over here, maybe I guess this was the one. I'll just simply refresh this. I can see the no data available because we have deleted the file. Same way you would like to delete the container, you can do that as well. Okay, so the idea is in this way you would be able to perform your operation of upload, download, and delete onto the Azure, even though you are working with the CAP, working with SAP, but still your content can easily float onto any sort of a third-party cloud. That's the idea. There is some issue over here. I'll get back to you on this maybe tomorrow. Okay. Anyone having any doubt on any of the things that we have covered so far? Okay, no, seems good. Now, what is the next that we are going to learn over here is, if I just go over here simply, I'll just try to view certain thing. Okay, so for example, I'll just close this. Maybe this one is anyway working. Okay, let's see what is the current status of my storage. So as we can see, out of the 3.8 GB that I have got, 2.3 GB has already been occupied. It means going forward, maybe I guess it might also overload my dev space, and maybe soon I might start getting some warning, and then maybe I guess this might also stop working, right? It means ideally, if my dev space crash because of any XYZ reason, I can very well lose the development that I would have done so far. My services might be running on my Azure server, but there might not be any way that I would be left out with to retrieve my code because my BTP deployed environment only contained the binary that would have been generated, the version that would have been deployed, right? I won't be having my code base. I lose the code base in case that happens, right? So second uh, possibility we can think of is that currently I'm the only developer who is working on this, but that's not how organization works, right? I can have n number of other developers also working on the same project, and They might also be working on some different functionality, but will be part of the same service that I'm working on. So in order for us to ensure that multiple developers are working on the same project, the delivery is being done quickly, right? We have to ensure that my code base is available at different places at the same point in time. Okay, that's the main idea. That's what we ideally should be looking for. Okay, so in order for us to do that, what you can do is you can ensure that your code is not available locally, rather they are that has been pushed onto the Git layer. Okay, so as I mentioned, as we have discussed this earlier, we are going to use GitHub as our central code collaboration platform, which mostly is being used on, I can say mostly is being used in multiple, or I can say most of the organization who is working on any code base which is file based, right? Because code collaboration tools, if you name few, will be your GitHub, or maybe like just a Bitbucket. These are all the things that you would have anyway heard of. So let's see how I can ensure that my dev space is not getting exhausted. Plus, my code is also available centrally. So, in case of any sort of a failure in my dev space, I'm not losing onto the work that I have done so far. Okay. In order for me to do that, let's just see what all things we can have over here. I'll just simply try to, okay, let's just say, I'll just simply say I would like to open a github.com over here. The moment you go on to a github.com, you would see that, okay, I can easily sign in, I can sign up, I can create my own set of a repository over here. So this github.com is the one that you will be using. I'll just simply say sign up. I'll create a account of mine. For example, in order for you to sign up, you have to ultimately enter your mail ID and all those things that it looks for, and post which you will be able to create your repository. Once your repository has been created, you would be easily able to connect to that over here, connect to that and push this particular code onto Azure. That's something which will be possible. Okay. Now you have to enter your mail ID. So I'll just simply go with any mail ID. So I'll just, now one more thing. It's not the requirement that the mail ID that you have used in your BTP, the same mail ID you have to anyway use in your GitHub. No, that's not the case. You can create your GitHub repository in any account where the mail ID might also be different. Many a time GitHub repository are also created on an organizational level, and multiple people are working on an organization. That's also quite possible. So I'll just simply say sumit.btp. Okay. So I'll just simply go over here and maybe I'll just create a password. And maybe some sort of a username. And I don't, whether you would like to get some announcement and all, you can just go with that. Okay, what's that? Protecting, please solve this puzzle to verify you are a real one. Use the arrow to rotate the object to the face and direction of hand. Okay. Okay. So you would ultimately be able to proceed like this and you will be able to create your account. Oh, I have to get some. Okay, let's see if I have that mail ID available. Okay, one sec. I might take a minute or two. Okay, just give me a moment, guys. If I have it logged in already over here, I can just simply get it. See, 5642848. Okay, I think it's done. I'll reshare my screen. Okay. Okay. Now, maybe it will ask you some question. The project will guide you to tool to use to how many team members you would like to collaborate with. Maybe based on your team size, you can say, for example, I am saying 5 to 10. Are you a student, teacher? Maybe I can say not applicable. You can just go with anything. I can go by teacher. That's also fine. Whether you would like to use any additional tools. So for now, I don't want that. So I'll just anyway go with normal and I'll just go with a free account. So anyway, it gives you the free account operations. Okay. Now, once you are over here, you are all set. All you are supposed to do is you are supposed to create the repository. Okay. So for example, I can create a repository by clicking on this. I'll just say create a repository. Here in your namespace, you will see that particular thing appearing. So for example, I am trying to create a repository that can store my code. For example, BTP BE Azure. So I'll just simply say BTP BE Azure. Okay, and I would like to create a repository in a private mode, for example, because my organization is that I want my code to be quite secure, so I'll just go with a private mode. You can go with a public as well. And in case you would like to go with some structure, you can say add readme file, and you can just specify the instruction that might be useful for the one who are going to use your code in order for example, what all folder it contains, what are the usage of it, what is a skeleton, and all those stuff. Okay. While you are going with this, you will also find a git ignore file. What is it? Simply, if I just go over here, you would see that there is a file called git ignore as well, right? So my project is also having that. Idea is that while you are pushing the code into git, right? It's just a code base that you should be pushing, right? If I say node module, that's something that will anyway get generated the moment you say npm install. Same way, generated components over here should also be generated. They should also not be pushed. Some sort of a deployment artifact, empty archive. That's also something that will get generated. So all those generated components plus certain hidden files, they ideally does not make sense to be there in your GitHub, a shared code, because that can be generated. So such a thing which you would like to get ignored, you can specify it in a git ignore. When you create a cap project, you will see that file automatically getting generated for you as well. It gives you an idea saying these are the things that I have already added. On top of it, if you would like to add certain file, for example, you don't want DB to be pushed. For example, you can simply say DB slash any file which are under DB won't be pushed. If you are, for example, saying I'm preparing all this, but my taste folder is something that I am using just for my local tasting, I don't want it to be public. You can just simply say taste slash, and your taste folder won't also be pushed onto git. That's the idea. Okay, that's the purpose of a git ignore. That's the reason it's a git ignore. Git and ignore, that's a hidden file. Now, the moment I go over here, you would simply say I would like to have a git ignore file. What are the kind of project that you are creating? I'll just say I am going by a node language. So base node file, whatever is there, just suggest me that. I'll update it after, as per whatever is my need. If you would like to license your code, license your repository that cannot be used by any others, and whatever licensing policies that you would have, you can directly go over here saying license. It will create a base branch with the name main, okay, which will be a default branch. You can specify all the settings saying what is a main branch. You can name it as a master or XYZ, whatever you would like to call it as. Okay, all those rules can be applied. You can just simply create your repository over here. I can see a repository got created which just contain two files for now, git ignore and readme, right? Which is also quite empty. That's the reason this readme file which appears over here is empty. I would like to now connect to my, let's just say, I would like to push my code over here in my BTP BE Azure. Right. What are the steps? What you will do is you will go over here and just open this project into your Project Explorer. I'll just click on this triple line, file, open folder, and just open the folder which is the one that you want to work on. So for example, I would like to work on BTP Azure. I'll just say okay. It will reload my repository, reload my dev space, and I can see that this particular project is something which is now open as a main folder over here. Okay. Now, what you would like to do is you would like to push this particular code to my Git. If you see, there is something called third button, source control. Here you can initialize your repository. I'll just simply say initialize the repository. Okay. And you can just simply say, I would like to push this thing to somewhere. I have not added the address of this yet. Correct. I'll just simply say plus over here. It will add all the changes over here. And I'll simply say, I would like to uh, initial commit for Azure code. Okay. And I'll just commit this, for example. Okay. It is just a normal commit. The branch, it says main branch, but it does not know where to push it because I don't have a remote connected to it yet. I'll just simply say there is a HTTPS. If I just go over here on the right hand side, it has a full path of my repository. It says github.com Sumit BTP CAP, and there is a repository .git. I'll just click on copy. Okay. I'll just go in my over here in my BAS, click on this triple dot, and in the remote, just add the remote over here. It will say provide the repository URL. I'll just add the URL over here. It will say give me the name of the branch on which you would like to publish it. I'll just say please publish it on the main branch. Okay, and it gives some verification code. I'll just simply say there is a code that will be copied on my clipboard. I'll just say copy and open. And ultimately, I have to continue with my account, whichever I would like to. So for example, which device you would like to activate. So I'll just say use a different account this time. Okay, and I'll just pass that code and continue. And it will say authorize SAP to use GitHub. I'll just say okay. And now it says whether you would like to save this token. I'll just say save as a plain text. Okay, that's done. And it says whether you would like to periodically press git fetch. Now git fetch is ideally used to ensure that any new branch and everything which is appearing, which are there, are appearing easily over here. So I'll just simply say yes. So periodically it keeps on checking if there are new branches which are created in your git. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just simply go over here and I'll click on this triple dot and I'll just say branch, and I would like to rebase my branch because my code is being published for the first time. For the first time, you have to rebase your branch with the branch which exists over there. I'll just say rebase my branch from with the main branch. So it pulls the files which are available in my Git over here to ensure that this files plus this files over here are compatible with each other. So it founds that this particular file has got some code and there is some conflict because the file which you are trying to push over here, okay, it says two things. It says there is a file which is available on Git, and this is the file that you are trying to push. Okay, now this situation can happen multiple times, right? For example, you are a developer, you have done some sort of change in this file. At the same point in time, another developer has also done some change. He has pushed his change. Now, while you are pushing the change, it's very well possible that you don't want his change or you don't want his change or you want both the changes. Correct? If you would like to do that, what you will do is simply uh, system will give you current change. Current change as in the one which is available in your GitHub. Incoming change, it means the one which you are trying to push. Okay. Now, if you would like to have, let's just say, the one which is the one which is incoming, the one which you did, you will just simply click on this accept incoming. If you would like that, no, not incoming, but the one which is available centrally, that's something I'm happy with. I don't want my change. Someone has already done that. Then you can say accept current. What it will do is it will just accept the current change over here and it will go ahead with that. So I'll just show you how. And third scenario could be that you would like 2 lines from here and 5 lines from here. Very well possible, right? Because many a time two developers are working two different functionality, but their code base is available on same file. Someone has done the code change on same line because it fits onto the same line. Now both are there, so I can write one after the another. Possible, right? So what I'll do is I'll just simply say first scenario, accept incoming change. You would like to keep your change, click on accept incoming change. You would see rest all the things are gone. Only your change are there, right? Another thing, I'll just say Control Z to show you. You would like to keep the one which is currently available on Git. I'll just say accept current. The moment you do that, your code is gone. You won't see your code available in this file anymore. I'll just say Control Z. Third one could be that you would like certain thing arbitrarily combination of both, right? So for example, I would like to have some sort of, for example, this one .NET environment variable. I'll just copy this and here I am saying that I would like this one also to be part of mine. So I'll just copy and paste it over here. And now I have two options. Once my file is ready, I have prepared the code in my environment, right? Then I can say accept incoming. So what the system will do is starting this arrow till this equal to sign, it will ignore everything and it will keep only the code block which is available over here. So you can just, or manually, you can also just delete this particular uh, file division. I can say that the divider block that has been created. I'll just simply say accept incoming. So it will just simply keep the code which I copied and from there as well. It's just dividing the code block from there. Okay, that's what it is doing. I'll just say Control Z. My code is available in the earlier state. And as we created a CAP project, I would like that to anyway take the precedence. So I'll just save this. But these are the possibilities. If you would like to view something in the conflict editor, you can view that. But once you have done that, there is more than straightforward to anyway go with. I'll just simply say plus. So your changes are now ready to be pushed. For the README, the one which GitHub did, it does not have anything, but the one which CAP generated, it says there is a app folder, db folder, this one, what are the purposes of it, how you can proceed, cds watch command and all. This documentation is there. You can enrich this documentation as well. I'll just say please keep this, so I have more information. I'll just simply say plus, and I'll just simply say initial commit for Azure code. I'll just say continue and I'll publish my branch. The moment I do that, if I just go over here and refresh my code, you see now my code is available over here in the GitHub. So I can see all the things that we have done so far are available over here centrally. So if my another developer is there who wants to actually have this code available on his repo, he can easily do that, right? I mean, there are no big rocket science on that. So for example, I have this project and I'll get rid of this. I'll just say open folder and I'll just keep this project over here. Okay, I'll just close all and I'll say, hey, I don't want this project right now because my repository, my dev space is anyway having too much of space. I'm not planning to work on this right now. I'll pull the code from Git whenever I need. So I'll just simply say delete. So all the work which I have done so far is gone, right? But I'll still need my code because let's just say suddenly I just thought, okay, I would like to start working on something. Go over here, click on a copy. Okay. And let's just say you would like to work on something. Okay, so what you'll do is, so for example, there are multiple options. You might would like to work, but let's just say this main is nothing but your productive code. You will only push your code to main whenever you would like to ensure that, okay, this is the code which I'll deploy. If there are certain things that you are working intermediately, you don't want to have that code directly available on main. So you will create a branch. Okay. So branch is nothing but the different version of a code which is being worked upon currently. Okay. So I'll just say main and I'll say, hey, I would like to create a clone of a main with the name of, let's just say, new feature development, for example, right? So what it will say is, it will say create a branch, new feature development from main. If I click on this, you will see now I have two branches. My main branch over here contains the same code. My new feature development also contains a same code because this code is up to date. Now what I'll do is I would like to work on something, but I won't disturb anyone. So let's just say if tomorrow new developer is coming, he'll also create a clone of main. He'll never create a clone of any other branches. So they everyone will work on a central base code, and everyone will finally ensure that their code is being aggregated in the main branch. Now what I'll do is I would like to ultimately go ahead and do some changes, but I'll do it always in the new feature branch. Okay, I'll just copy over here, and here I'll simply go in a git, and I'll say, hey, I would like to get my code back. So I'll just click on this triple dot to view command palette and just search for clone. It will say git clone, right? This git clone, you will click on that. I'll just simply add the name of it, and I would like to have my repository where I'll just say projects. I'll just simply say okay. In the project, I'll just say, would you like to open this one? I'll just say yes, open this. It will reload your dev space, and you will see your code just came back. Other than the generated component, rest all things came back, right? Now what I'll do is I'll say, hey, I would like to do some sort of a cleanup. The things are quite messy. Okay, so what you would like to do, I would like to remove this particular commented lines and everything that I do have. So I'll just remove this thing, and I would like to do the cleanup activity. I just saved this, right? I did the change in one file. You see over here, it says this particular file got changed. What all things got changed? I'll click on this, and you will see that this code is not available in the current working branch that was there. You just deleted it. I'll say nice. I'll just simply say plus, and I'll just say I just did some cleanup activity. Okay, but one thing we just missed. Okay, so I'll just simply revert this change. If you would like to revert some change, you can just remove it from stage, and I'll just simply say discard change. As you can see, I cloned the branch, but what I'm connected to, as you can see, it's connected to main branch only. I'll click on this source control. I'll click on this, and I'll say checkout to, and I'll always work on my branch that I created. So I'll just say origin new feature development. I'll click on this. So now I'm switched to this new feature development. Whatever change I'll do will anyway be available only in this new feature one. So what I'll do is I'll just simply go over here. I'll remove this commented code, save this code, and in the source control, now you see it says, okay, this file got changed. This is what it looks like. I'll say, okay, I'll just say, I just did some cleanup. Let's just try to push this change. So I'll just say, yeah, I'll just commit this, and I'll just sync this change. So what it will do is it will push my change. Plus, if there are certain change which someone else would have done in my feature branch, I can also get that in return. Now I'll just go back in the Git. So as you can see, it says that there is a new push recently done, and it is one commit ahead. So my main branch has something which is nothing but my old code. My main branch over here has the old code, but on top of it, there is some code which is being done and which is available in my feature branch, which is a second code version of it. And this code version, I can ensure that, okay, this is being reviewed and then only made public, then only made, let this a central, right? So what you can do is you can create a pull request for that. You can say this branch is one commit ahead of main. It has some more changes compared to that of the main. I'll just say contribute over here, and I'll just say open a pull request. You can go with that, but this particular bar you will only see recently whenever you have pushed some change. After some point in time, you will see this blue bar not appearing. So you'll always click on this contribute, open a pull request over here, and here you can see that, okay, my code that I have done over here, I would like to, this arrow you see, it says you would like to push it to main. I'll just say cleanup activity I have done. If you are part of some organization in GitHub, you would also see a list of reviewer. You can add some reviewer saying, hey, I am raising this pull request. Can you please review the change which I did? How they can review? If you see over here, they'll be able to see that, okay, this was the code and that's now been, if you click on split, you would also be able to see that this was the code earlier and this now this is how it looks like on the right hand side. So anyone can review, okay, this is how it has been removed. If some code changes has been done, if some new line has been added, how it looks like that can be visible. Okay. So I'll just simply say, yeah, this is good for me. I'll just simply say this one. This just happened. Okay, clean up, and I'll just simply create a pull request. So the moment I say create a pull request, my system will ultimately check over here. It will ultimately generate a pull request. If someone approves it, a reviewer a review and approve it, and then finally say merge, these changes will be merged and finally will be available onto what? These changes will be available on main. So it says that this particular pull request from this particular developer has been merged. And now in the main as well, I can see these changes. This is how the code transition is being done so that multiple developer can work on the central copy and can ensure that their code is being merged after relevant review. Okay, that's the main idea. That's how the GitHub works. And that's how it works in collaboration with CAP. So you will all, it's not only CAP, even any code development that you're doing using BS, for example, a Fiori application development, you can also use GitHub for that. And by this means you can ensure that your code is safe, because many a time what also happens is your code is not, let's just say, pushed onto Git. Sometime your dev space, let's just say, collapse and you lose all the work that you would have done so far. Okay. Are we all clear with this, or anyone having any doubts? Okay, seems we are good. Now, the one more thing that we would like to understand in this particular session is, okay, let's just say we would like to create a simple, okay, let's just understand that particular topic first, then we'll go with that. Okay, I'll just say, okay, so we'll just understand one more topic over here. So what we have understood till now is that I have a CAP project. My CAP project has a database, my CAP project has a service. Okay. Plus, sorry. So my CAP project over here can have some DB module. My CAP project can have some sort of a service module as well, right? So this particular DB over here, which I have, the service module, which I do have, right? I know that the security of my service is quite important, because if someone is getting access to my service, it's as good as they are getting the access for my sensitive data that I would have. That's the reason what we also understood is we can have some sort of a security. And that security mechanism that we understood maybe earlier was with reference to some sort of a mock authentication as well as basic authentication, right? But basic authentication was also quite limited, and maybe I can say only capable of handling a developer which I'm a user which I'm defining over here, which may not be a good practice, right? Because if I am capable of logging to BTP, why can't the same authentication token be used in order for me to allow using any sort of a service, right? So that's one of the things that maybe we can consider. So this kind of basic authentication is something which we ideally should not have in practice. Instead, what we should have is, if we would like to make our application more secure, there is a way of authentication called XSUAA. XSUAA authentication, which is based on a HANA XSA, and it's meant for user access and authentication. So, sorry, user authorization and authentication. The idea behind this is that rather than password based login, the login or the authenticity of the user will be validated with so-called token. Those validation token, authentication token will be generated and will be passed across the services. Okay. Now the question comes, when we talk about such authentication token, who can generate that token? I mean, database is something which is hidden and may be secured. On top of it, we have a service. So when we say that authentication token should be generated, my database cannot take that responsibility because it comes onto the step that follows. Can my service take that responsibility? Technically, we can make the things, but it will fall into architecture which is going to be a monolithic architecture where authentication activity is also being handled by service. My actual services are also being provided by service. Even the security chances are also a bit vulnerable because whoever is being authenticated can directly touch my service, can directly communicate to service. Rather, if I can have some sort of another party over here whose sole purpose is to authenticate, and not only authenticate, to also validate the kind of request and navigate only to the relevant endpoint. Relevant endpoint based on the access, that particular user is having. Okay, that's what ideally a purpose will be of a module, so-called application router. As the name suggests, right, what it is nothing but a router which will navigate you to the relevant application. It will authenticate you. It will check the authenticity of that particular request. It will validate whether that user is authorized. Based on the request that he is coming for, I can have a different endpoint. My service can be exposing a different set of data for some sort of, for example, some sort of a quality assessment, some sort of a admin relevant activity. There can be multiple things which a service can be providing. So whether that requester has a required authentication, required authorization or not, that's something will my application router will validate. If it has, it will route it to the endpoint. Otherwise, this particular access will be blocked then and then. Okay, so this ultimately behaves as a gateway. It will validate the user. If it has the access, then only it will allow anyone to pass via this particular route. Otherwise, it will restrict that particular access then and then. That's the meaning, that's the purpose of your application router. While we are doing that, the idea is that your application is not required to have any static authentication user like we created over here in a basic one. Instead, your authentication will be handled by your router, and it will generate the token based on the current user who has logged in via BTP account automatically. Okay. So for example, someone was having a question maybe in the morning, very valid question. If I am already logged in via BTP because I have already logged in a launchpad, will I be again prompted to enter a user ID and password? With this mechanism, you won't be. And this is the mechanism which any organization's development cycle are following these days, so that my user is not prompted again and again for all those, let's just say, credentials, to ensure, or I can say to establish a mechanism called single sign-on, right? So single sign-on is something that we are hearing maybe from a basis perspective, or many a time a developer is also establishing some sort of architecture which ultimately generates a single sign-on. So this single sign-on is generated because the token is there somewhere into the memory, and which is being used for the users authenticate to validate users authenticity. Okay. Now, what are the things that we'll need in order for us to achieve this? Okay, so let's just create a some sort of a let's just say project. I'll simply say, for example, okay, I'll create a project which will be used to validate some sort of authentication token. So for example, BTP BE auth, for example. And let's just also open this project only. BTP BE auth. I'll just say okay. Okay, now I have a particular project, and now what I'll do is I'll just simply open a console and say terminal. Okay, and I'll just ensure that my project is having the required thing. So let's just add certain thing which maybe I guess makes some meaning from my user's perspective. So for example, I'll create some sort of um, data over here. So for example, I'll just simply create a data model. Okay. So for example, I'll just simply say btp.a. Okay, and I'll create some sort of entity. So for example, using okay, and I'll create some sort of entity. I can say a normal entity, which can be used by any user who is authenticated. And maybe let's just say some sort of an admin entity, which will only allow user to access the data if they have some sort of admin level access. Okay, I'll just simply say entity, and maybe let's just say some sort of a normal entity. Okay, and maybe I'll just create just a single set of data, because my focus is not on the properties and all. My focus is currently on to the authorization concept. So for example, I'll just simply say name, and I'll just simply say string 255. Okay, and I'll just create another entity saying admin entity, and maybe here also create some sort of a CUID over here, and I'll just simply say name string. Okay, 255. On top of it, let's just also add something so that we are quite clear that my user is actually identified, because current till now what we have seen is my user is only identified with a terminology called anonymous, right? Will the system be able to identify my user BTP user ID, right? So that I can know that my identity, whoever is creating that particular record or manipulating, are known. So I'll just manage. So it adds few more column called created by and all, right? So I'm adding this particular properties as well. Now, for example, I have created two entity. I'll now be proceeding to create certain services. So I'll simply say I'll create a service. So for example, auth service.cds. I'll just say using btp.a from, okay, let's just say sba, for example, from my data model. Service, maybe I can say authorization service, and maybe here will name, I can say expose the prop entity. So I'll just simply say entity, normal entity, right? That's what we are calling it as select from, for example, ba dot normal entity. Okay, and maybe we'll give another one called admin entity as select from ba dot admin entity. Okay, now we are talking about all these authorization, right? So definitely that should also be written somewhere. So I'll just simply say at the rate. It talks about the kind of authorization that you will need. I'll just simply say at the rate. It requires authorization of what? I'll just say normal entity, but normal in what sense? That user should also be a valid user. So I'll just say if someone is willing to use this entity, he should be authenticated user. He should validate that, okay, he has required authorization via BTP, he should be able to log in. If he is there, I can consider him as an authenticated user. I'll allow him. Another one I can say requires, but this time I would like to call him as a, for example, admin. Now, this is something that you can keep on defining on your own. Authenticated user is a predefined term. Admin is something which I'm defining as a role. Likewise, you can have n number of roles. For example, quality manager, SAP architect, or XYZ, whatever roles that you would like to define, you can do that. Based on that, what you can define is, you will simply say, hey, I would like to also restrict, for example, what action. So for example, for the admin as well, you would like to restrict something. So for example, I'll just simply say I would like to grant what I would like to grant, for example, create operation only to him if he has got the required access. Other than that, no one should be able to perform a create operation on top of it. This is what we are willing to perform. This is what we are willing to specify. Okay, the moment you do that, what the system will recognize is that, okay, if a user is there into BTP, if the role has been created with the name of admin, and if that particular user has that particular admin role assigned to it, then only he should be able to perform operation. And which operation? Only create. I'm also not saying that he should be able to perform some sort of a get, update, and any other operation. I'm just saying create operation he should be able to perform. Even other operation, he may not be able to do that till the time I don't enrich this particular restriction over here. And here, it just needs an authorization. I have not restricted anything. There is a difference between two things which I have specified till now. Okay, I'll just close this. Now, next thing what we are supposed to do is, let's just say we are doing all this thing and maybe we would need an authorization and all. So in order for us to play the role of a mediator for our application, we'll need an app router. So I'll just simply say CDS add app router. As you can see, it added certain thing. It added access UAA, as I mentioned, user authorization and authentication, and the app router thing as well. Where did it edit it? As you can see, it generated an access security file over here. In this access security file, as you can see, it generated a scope. Now, from where it generated this scope? It generated this particular scope from the service that you have specified over here. Okay. On top of it, it generated certain roles, role templates. These role templates are something that is going to get converted into role collection going forward. Okay. Plus, it added something called app router. Okay. Okay, I'll just click on this as well, and you will see it says requires authorization of kind access UAA. That's what you can also see over here. So these are the things that it added. Plus, if you go and open the APP, you would see it added some default environment variable. It says if I am validating something, I'll pass on that authentication token to the service, whoever is consuming that. And as a part of consumer, they have specified one of the service called SRV API. In access app.json, you would see that it has specified certain routes that if I'm getting a call with anything but which is ending with APP, I'll pass it on to the relevant target. If I'm getting something to over here, I can pass it to my current local directory. If I'm getting any call over here, which is anything after a slash, I'll pass whole data over here to my target. And my authentication token should also be validated at that point in time as well. That's what it is saying. Okay, so it generated a basic skeleton, but not all of them. We'll see, okay, what all things will be required. Okay, now on top of it, in order for us to ensure that, okay, the things are ready to be deployed and all, I'll just simply add the relevant HANA features to it. Okay, so my package.json currently does not contain any HANA feature. So I'll just simply say CDS add HANA. Okay, I'll just simply say npm install HANA database. The moment you added HANA, as you can see, it says DB has been specified to HANA right now. And as you can see, the moment you added security, those particular packages that we added, maybe when we go when we went ahead with a basic authentication, this passport and access security has also been added automatically. rather than us doing that. I'll just say npm install @SAP HANA client. Okay. Now, what we might also need is we might also need the things to be ready to be deployed on my HANA. These are not all things. Okay. There are certain things which definitely are something which we are supposed to add. But before that, I would like to show you the architecture of my MTA file. That's the reason I'm preparing other things. I'll just say CDS. Let me just prepare my database because there I am not going to do any change. It generated relevant table and the view and everything that it needs. Two tables, two views, because there are two entities. Two entities, two tables generated for that. And for the service, it generated certain views. It's generated a DB instance for it. Maybe we can wait for it for a minute. Okay, it's generating some authentication key. Okay, it just generated certain key and now it's writing it to HANA DB. Okay, things looks good. Now we have to add an MTA feature. So we have got an MTA YML as well, right? Now, as we can see, it has got the things that were there anyway earlier. It has got the service feature, right? On top of a service feature, in this SRV API, it says it is required by the consumer for CAP service like an application route. But we see it's anyway being there, being used there, right? It says you are supposed to authorize. That's the reason it has one more dependency on top of DB. What is that? It is nothing but your application router. This application router over here, it's connected to your SRV API as a destination over here, and it will pass the authentication token that this app router will generate. Okay, and as you can see, for the other, you won't see disk quota and memory, but here it has been specified to the minimum. 256 is the minimum space and the size which mostly BTP service will take onto the let's just say deployment environment. So it's going to run with a quite limited memory. Okay, now as we can see over here, it just went ahead with this and I have got this particular path. Plus it just generated one more thing. On top of the database container, it also generated some authorization service. It says access UAS service, which will be reading the paths from access security JSON. The name of access app.json is access application. So when I say I am going to assign the user the role of admin, I can have an admin role for different application, right? The admin definition for this service might be different. So how I'll be able to recognize which admin role it is with the help of this application name. It says BTP BE auth, and there is a name of an application that you can recognize it from. Okay. and it will be dedicated to that particular environment. So we are currently working on a whichever BTP environment, the same environment it will be dedicated to. Now, after having this, what we'll need? Okay, what we will need is that for all those things to work, we have to specify certain path. Okay, so let's just see what all thing my current access app.json that is generated via app has. It gives me the default template. It has not given me more than that, right? It just says there is a welcome file for app called index.html. But do you see any welcome file? No, right? Then I don't need this. I'll just remove this. Okay. On top of it, it says certain routes. Okay, so I have to specify authentication method as well. So I'll just simply say authentication method. Okay, and on this authentication method, I'll just simply say route. So what does it mean is the moment you specify any sort of a endpoint call which has been generated on app, once authentication has been done by this application router, it will route it to the relevant uh, path over here, and it will ensure that the authentication token has also been passed. It says authentication method, so it will be route. Now, what will route will need? Do you need any application config? Because we don't have such endpoint, so I'll just get rid of that. Now it says that I'll keep two of them for our understanding. It says that if I am getting any call on this, I'll just directly pass it to the folder. So there can be two paths. Either I can, after validating, I can allow anyone to read these files over here, or I can ensure that anyone is able to execute the service that I have. So I'll just say if there is a source, my target over here is nothing but the path that they are saying. For example, if someone is saying app slash package.json, I'll allow anyone to read the package.json if he is an authenticated user. This is not anyway we are going to use much. Another one that we are going to use is you are saying if someone is saying I would like to have some let's just say service which I would like to use. I would like that particular user to be able to connect to my this destination. So I'll just simply say this destination. I don't want a target because I am directly serving my service, as you can see on MTYML, on this endpoint, right? On this endpoint, which is provided by SRV API. So I'll just say if I am getting any call on this, be it on anything, for example, admin entity, normal entity, anything, be it V2, V4, I would like that to be rerouted to SRV API if he has already authenticated. Okay. And for the authentication means, you can have different type. So you can simply specify that I will allow my user to authenticate by specifying authentication type. You can specify over here access UAA. Okay. If you don't specify over here access UAA, it may not be able to do that. You are also having an option if you would like to go with basic, you can specify basic over here. The moment you specify basic rather than a authentication token, user will be prompted with a pop-up where he has to enter the user ID and password. That's also one of the way. But most of the time, for the sake of easiness for my end user, we ideally go with the access UAA, which generates the token. Okay, so this is what we generated. We ideally say authentication mode, authentication method is route, and we have got this two options. So I'll just open this authentication method, routes over here, and we have this particular thing in a nice shape. Other than that, what you will need is that whenever I am saying that my user is trying to validate, okay, whether my user is trying to validate whether he is the right user or not, how can we ensure that he is allowed to let's just say reach to my endpoint service? After authentication, there is one more concept of a whitelisting. Okay, there is one more concept of whitelisting. So if I just go over here in my BTP environment, I'll just for example open this service. You will see that okay, it has got a service. The first one over here is nothing but my sub account ID. Okay, then there is a service, and then my service name, which is nothing but BTP control service. Then it is deployed on some sort of a US10 region, right? Because we specified that US10 region while creating my sub account. So it says CF app US10001. There is a path that it is pointing to. So anything that it is, any request that is coming via this one, that I would like to redirect it to the relevant point. If any request which is not coming via this point, I would like that to be rejected. So any suspicious, any unauthorized, any let's just say calls which are generated by some sort of a hackers can also be avoided. That's the main idea. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll go in access app access security.json, and after your let's just say role templates and everything that you have specified, right? Next thing you will do over here is you will specify who all are allowed. We ideally specify it in the form of a OAuth 2 configuration. But in a way, in a layman's term, what it is nothing but your whitelisting. You are saying only this particular path I'm asking everyone to allowed. Rest all the thing you should reject it. Okay, so for example, I'll just simply say redirect, and you will simply specify URIs. You will specify these are the URI you should be redirecting. What all URIs I should allow. So I'll just simply say copy this. Okay, I'll just go over here. In the double inverted comma, you will specify that not only this service, anything that is coming from this one. So I'll just specify star over here. And if it has anything post that as well, I'll just say star star. You are saying if I have anything which is ending with this, please allow that particular call to be redirected. Many a time you would see a specific call. If my user is trying to log in, he'll be logging in afterwards. His let's just say authentication is routing him back to the actual service. That ideally happens with so-called a specific endpoint login callback. These are the relevant, I can say bare minimum redirect URI you should be specifying. Okay, now after specifying this, there are one more thing, that ideally all the credentials, all the authentication are specified by the means of credential types. That what all kind of authentication you are expecting that the BTP will do. So this credential type that we are talking about over here for now are of two type. Okay, one of them is called binding secret, and another one is called X509. These are two kind of authentication certificate in a way that user service will be authenticated and certified with the help of this credential type. If either of them is generated, please allow them. So this whitelisting mode is pretty important. If you let's just say follow all the steps, but if you don't follow this whitelisting step, you would see even though your authentication token has been generated, you are not allowed to use any of your endpoint service. This is the main thing that you should be knowing. Okay, now I'll just simply format this document, and after having this, what we'll do is we'll just proceed. If we can have a deployment ready, I'll just simply say let's just install all the dependency. I'll just simply say cd app, and there are certain dependencies which are specified over here by the means of this package. So I'll just install those dependencies as well. So I have a node module generated there. Plus I'll just go over here and I'll just simply clear this out and I'll install all the dependencies here as well.
Sumit,
Yeah, please.
Sumit, we have given like go to down in this file, go down
Please.
our
Okay,
file
yeah.
in
Uh-huh.
security one, yeah. So here redirect URIs, okay, we are given
Mm-hmm.
for CF apps US. So
Mm-hmm.
suppose that in my ID, if I'm giving a permission to different person, okay,
Mm-hmm.
in ORG, right? We can
Mm-hmm.
give, right, with
Mm-hmm.
email ID. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe his ID is through Singapore.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Okay. So link will be different, right?
No. For example, if
Uh,
I am allowing anyone to use this one, right? So how can you
this one,
allow?
right?
How can
Hmm?
I allow anyone to use my service? Service, as in, if I am saying that I would like anyone to use some sort of account, it would be deployed somewhere, right? So if you are giving someone access, you will add his user over here, correct?
Correct.
His user over here. Anyway, the
Yes, yes.
deployed artifact is anyway going to be over here. You are not giving him the code base and saying please deploy it on your environment, because based on this endpoint the service endpoint will be generated. Even if he's based out of
Mm-hmm.
Singapore, the sub account is based out of what? This one, right?
Some, yeah. Okay.
So if let's just say I'm currently based out of X place, I'm going to Y place, then also
Mm-hmm.
if my if I'm trying to access some service, the service will be deployed and accessible at a certain endpoint, isn't it? If anyone, be it me, you, or any third person, if who is willing to use this, he has to ultimately call this endpoint only. There is no other place, any other endpoint on which this service is being served. So anyway, if he is also based out of somewhere, he'll try to access this URL only. And if he is trying
Yes,
to
yes.
access this URL, he has to pass his credentials. So if you have specified his user over here in this particular users and provided him the required role collection, then only he'll be able to authenticate himself. It means if
Mm-hmm.
even though his BTP account is based out of Singapore, but the service that he is trying to access is not based out of Singapore. He is trying to access something
Yeah, yeah.
which is
Okay.
out of US East region.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
as simple as that. So you have to whitelist depending on where you are trying to deploy. Tomorrow, it's very well possible. The scenario that you are thinking of, the other scenario could be that I might also end up deploying this service in a different tenant. I can say that, okay, not only in the US East region, I would like to deploy my service on another environment which is which has been generated out of Singapore region. So what you will have is that your service will communicate to the same central DB because we have generated it centrally, but your service will have two running instances, one out of US East, one out of Singapore. Then in that case, you have to whitelist that URL also over here. So you are ultimately minimizing the pool of the user who can use this. So your security is on the higher side. So your idea is valid that I can have same service. If you are deploying it on second sub account, you have to add that URI also over here in the whitelisting purpose. If you are not doing that, then your application, or I can say that particular endpoint call will fail. What you can do is simply, in order for you to try out, while you are deploying this, maybe I have added everything and now I'll deploy. But while you are deploying, don't add this chunk over here. Okay. You will get an error saying invalid URI domain kind of a thing. Then you have to add this. The moment you add, you will see it starts working because you have specified a right endpoint. If you specified it as of for Singapore, it will fail. Likewise. Okay. So
Okay.
whitelisting is a concept that we are talking about over here.
So, okay. So, if we are using Singapore domain, so we need to deploy into Singapore one, right?
So it's as good as if I am saying that my organization has some sort of a data of some sort of a let's just say project code, right? And I would like to
Mm-hmm.
use that. That's residing in my database. If someone who is willing to read that particular set of project code which are available, they have to either communicate to my database, or they have to expose some service which I would have published. Now, if I am publishing the service, I'll only publish it in my account in order for me to ensure that it is secure. Correct.
Correct. Correct.
So it depends. Look, the idea is whoever is the data provider will say these are the region, these are the area, these are the endpoint on which I'm providing my service. If you would like to use that, you should be an authorized person to go and enter that particular door. If you are not able to do that, it means you are not authorized for that information. As good as that. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Now, after we have this, now what we'll do is we'll just try to build this particular project. Okay, I have built this. Now I'll try to deploy this empty archive. Okay, I think again you have to say cf push mta archive btp. Pushing app for application. What has happened? For application, fail to create default route for app name. Host must be either star or contain only alphanumeric characters. See if deploy works. It might not, but yeah, okay. So it will generate your different services. One which will be responsible for your authorization, another one which will be actually serving it, and the database. So all these three services should be deployable. If any of them fails, then definitely your service deployment will fail. So this time in the MTA, name of your node module, this is the name of it. Name of your authorization services, just auth without anything. So if you try accessing your service directly via this, it's quite secure. It won't allow you. But if you just go via this one, then only it will allow you. That's the expectation that we do have. So we have the auth service at least up and running. Your app router should be up and running by now. Let's see how your service and deployer are behaving. Okay, it's working on the deployment of your DB. I think it's quite simple. It should be able to. Okay, your service is also deployed. Your DB deployment did not throw any errors, so process should be finished soon. Okay, yeah, process is finished. Now let's see, I'll just go over here and view the endpoints, which I do have. Okay, so I have my, this is app router and this service. Let's just try to connect to service directly. Okay, first, I'll just click on this. And after this, I'll just simply say, hey, can you open, let's just say a normal entity. It says unauthorized. You are not able to open a normal entity because you tried accessing it directly. I'll just go over here. I'll just go in auth. I'll just click on this. As you can see, it's trying to log you in somewhere. and now it loaded the same metadata. Now, if I try logging in and checking the normal entity, as you can see, it gives me the data saying, okay, it does not have any data yet, but I'm able to view the data if I just go via my, I can say app router. If I just try adding some sort of a dummy data right now, just for the understanding that whether it is deriving the right set of data right now or some sort of a fishy thing, I'll just go over here, dev, where is my DB for the auth? Here it is, service binding. Okay, just to view the information and HANA Database Explorer. Okay, I'll try to add some sort of a containers over here. HDA container. I'll just say apply from JSON, paste this, and I can name it as a BTP BE auth DB. Okay. Okay, and here I will have some table. I can add some data into the table. A normal entity, I'll just simply say generate insert statement. Okay, I need an ID, so I'll just say generate a GUID online. We'll see how I can trigger a post call via Postman. That's something we are anyway going to cover tomorrow. But just to keep the thing straightforward, okay, I'll just say current timestamp. Okay, and name I can say dummy, and maybe session context application user. Okay, and now let's just try to execute this. So we have entered some data into this. Let me just try opening this. I can see an entry over here. Let me just go over here, refresh this. As you can see, the data which I entered over there, I can see it over here. But if I directly go via my back service, I cannot access it, because for that I need some broker, some authorization broker, which can validate whether the user which is trying to access it is a valid one or not. Okay, so that's how the app router works. So this is one of the way of app router. We'll also see it in the conjunction of a Fiori application, how that works. On top of it, the admin service that we discussed about, how we can assign that to a user and how we can validate whether that particular operation is working. That's something we'll also look into it tomorrow. It's already 11:30, so I won't push it much. Anyone having any doubt till now on any of the things that we have covered so far? Okay, no, then it seems we are good. So I think there was one question from Krishna, I guess. Would you like to discuss it now or maybe tomorrow, first thing in the session, however you would like?
Sumit, as we can discuss today or tomorrow, anytime.
So maybe let's just
Uh,
start with your query. That's one, and maybe the download thing that we had to face an issue, and maybe the role assignment. That will be the first thing that we'll cover tomorrow, post which we'll
mhm.
proceed with the next topic. Will that be okay?
Okay, no problem.
Okay, sure. And
Okay.
as we are having the doubt session tomorrow, if any one of you, or let's just say anyone else as well, has any doubts or any queries, maybe let's just consider, maybe I guess first half an hour or in 45 minutes, we'll try to brainstorm on any of the things that you are not clear with, and we'll proceed. Okay, so Sridhar,
And
Anil, if there is something I can help you out, maybe
Yeah,
you can ask the questions.
sure.
Sure, Sumit.
Yeah,
Thank
Krishna.
or
Thank you.
Sumit, suppose that we are using lots of topic here. Okay. So to this topic, we will develop end-to-end application, like how to
Yeah,
use in
so
like.
So we
Mhm.
are going to have an example. Maybe we'll be consuming a CAP service that we created in a Fiori application. We'll create a Fiori application which will internally call my CAP service, and all
Mhm.
the transactions also will be performed. and we'll deploy that into a SAP build work zone as a tile. So that's something we have a plan. We'll be planning.
Okay,
But yeah,
so end to
the
end,
idea is
like
it's yeah
mm,
end to end, end to end. But the idea is that as these mainly focused on CAP, we won't go with a freestyle. Instead, we'll go with a generated templates. So the
yeah,
architecture is same anyway,
mm,
but we'll be having a UI application rather than a Postman. So that's planned. Okay, don't worry.
okay, okay, okay.
Okay, yeah. Then thanks a lot, everyone, and
Thank you.
wish you a nice remaining day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye.
Thanks. Great.